The transport ship Horizon moved quietly through the darkness of space. Inside, Ambassador Claire Dawson sat in her private cabin and reviewed her notes for the peace talks. She had spent 3 years building trust between Earth and the Korath Dominion. Tomorrow, she would meet their leaders on a neutral station called Valaxis Prime. If everything went well, humanity would gain its first major alien ally. Claire was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been a diplomat for 30 years. She believed that words could solve problems the guns could not. Her security team of 6 soldiers waited outside her door. They were well trained, but Claire hoped she would never need them. The ship's captain, a young man named Danny Webb, spoke through the intercom. "Ambassador, we have an unknown vessel approaching. They are not responding to our signals." Claire felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of vessel?" "It looks like a raider ship, ma'am. Zethric design. The Zethric Syndicate." Claire had heard stories about them. They were slavers who operated in the lawless parts of the galaxy. They captured people from many species and sold them like property. No government had ever stopped them because they hid in regions where law did not reach. "Can we outrun them?" Claire asked. "No, ma'am. They are faster than us. And there are 3 more ships coming from different directions." Claire closed her eyes. She understood what was happening. This was not random. Someone had told the slavers about her route. Someone wanted to stop the peace talks. The attack was quick and brutal. The Syndicate ships disabled the Horizon's engines with precise shots. Then they attached to the hull and cut through the metal. Claire's security team fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. The slavers poured through the corridors like a flood of scales and teeth. The Zethric were reptilian creatures. They stood taller than humans and had thick green skin covered in small ridges. Their eyes were yellow with black slits. They carried weapons that fired bolts of burning energy. When the fighting ended, 4 of Claire's guards were dead. The other 2 were badly wounded. A large Zethric walked toward Claire. He wore armor decorated with golden symbols. His face showed no emotion as he looked at her. "The human ambassador," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "You will bring a high price. Many powerful beings want to own a diplomat from Earth." Claire stood tall, even though her hands were shaking. "Earth will not pay your ransom. And the Galactic Council will hunt you down." The Zethric laughed. It was an ugly sound. "The Council does nothing. They never have. And we do not want money from your planet." He leaned closer, and Claire could smell his breath. It was like rotting meat. "We want coordinates. The locations of your colony worlds. Humans are valuable merchandise. Soft skin, adaptable bodies, and you breed quickly. We will harvest your settlements for generations." They dragged Claire and her surviving crew to the raider ship. The interior was dark and smelled of fear. She saw cages filled with creatures from other worlds. Some were crying. Others had given up hope long ago. Claire was pushed into a small cell with metal bars. The door slammed shut, and she was alone. Far away, on Earth. Alarms rang in a secret facility beneath the city of Tokyo. General Frank Hartley stood before a wall of screens showing the attack. He was an old soldier with a scarred face and eyes that had seen too much war. He watched the footage in silence as his staff waited for orders. "The Syndicate has taken Ambassador Dawson," said a young officer. "They are demanding colony coordinates in exchange for her life." "We will not give them coordinates," Hartley said. "That would do millions of people." "Sir, our nearest fleet is 18 days away from Syndicate territory. By then, the ambassador could be sold to anyone in the galaxy. We might never find her." Hartley nodded slowly. He had known this moment would come. Humanity had spread across the stars, but they had also made enemies. Pirates, slavers, and hostile empires all saw humans as weak newcomers. Earth needed to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. "Activate Project Cage," Hartley said. The room went silent. Project Cage was classified at the highest level. Most people in the military did not even know it existed. It was a program that had started 50 years ago, when humanity first realized that space was full of dangers. The project trained special operatives using methods that went back centuries on Earth. Methods from a time when warriors moved through shadows and struck without warning. Ninja, that was the old word. Earth had updated the concept with genetic enhancements, advanced technology, and decades of brutal training. The operatives of Project Cage were not soldiers. They were ghosts. Hartley made a secure call to a small apartment in Kyoto. A man answered on the second ring. He had a calm voice that revealed nothing. "This is Spectre," the man said. "We have a situation," Hartley replied. "Ambassador Claire Dawson has been captured by the Zethric Syndicate. They are holding her in their fortress in the Keth Nebula. We need her back, and we need to send a message." There was a pause. "Rules of engagement?" "Whatever is necessary. The Syndicate has terrorized this galaxy for too long. Make them afraid." "Understood. I will need transport and current intelligence on the fortress." "Already arranged. A stealth ship called the Nighthawk is waiting for you at the Osaka spaceport. All mission data has been uploaded. You leave in 2 hours." The call ended. In his apartment, Sam Keller stood and walked to a hidden panel in his wall. Behind it was his equipment. A suit made of material that bent light around the wearer. A blade with an edge only 1 molecule thick. Darts filled with chemicals that could stop a heart or simply bring sleep. And small discs that could explode with enough force to destroy a tank. Sam was 34 years old. He had trained since he was 8. He had completed missions on 12 different worlds and had never been seen by his targets. To the galaxy, he did not exist. But soon, the Zethric Syndicate would learn his name. Or at least, they would learn to fear the shadow that carried it. He packed his gear and left the apartment without looking back. Earth was sending its response to the slavers. Not a fleet. Not an army. Just one man who had learned that darkness could be a weapon. Ambassador Claire Dawson did not know that help was coming. She sat in her cell and listened to the cries of other prisoners. She wondered if Earth would sacrifice the colonies to save her. She hoped they would not. Some things were more important than one life. She did not know that she was about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. She did not know that a single human was about to teach the universe why his ancestors had feared the night. The Nighthawk was a small ship, barely larger than a shuttle. Its hull was covered in panels that absorbed scanner signals and bent light around the vessel. When it flew through space, it was almost invisible. Sam Keller sat alone in the cockpit and studied the data on his screens. The Zethric Syndicate had operated for over 200 years. They had started as a small group of pirates and grown into an empire of criminals. Their leader was a warlord named Draxus Vorn. He ruled from a fortress built inside a hollowed asteroid in the Keth Nebula. The nebula was a cloud of gas and dust that blocked most scanners. It was the perfect hiding place. Sam read the reports carefully. The fortress held more than 3,000 slavers. They had dozens of ships, heavy weapons, and security systems designed to stop armies. Over 400 captives from 12 different species were locked in cells deep inside the asteroid. No rescue mission had ever been attempted because the cost would be too high. Any fleet that attacked would lose hundreds of ships and thousands of soldiers. But Sam was not a fleet. He was something the galaxy had never seen before. The aliens who lived among the stars had developed their warfare around ships and guns. They fought with overwhelming force. Stealth meant hiding a battleship behind a moon until the enemy passed by. Infiltration meant sending 100 soldiers through a back door instead of the front. The idea of a single warrior sneaking through shadows, killing without sound, and vanishing like smoke was completely foreign to them. Earth had a different history. For thousands of years, humans had practiced the art of invisible warfare. Assassins in ancient Persia, ninja in feudal Japan, special forces in modern conflicts. Humanity understood that sometimes the smallest blade could cut deeper than the largest sword. The Nighthawk entered the Keth Nebula after 3 days of travel. The colorful gases swirled around the ship like fog. Sam guided the vessel carefully, using passive sensors to avoid detection. He could see the fortress ahead. It was a massive rock, roughly 10 kilometers wide, floating in the heart of the nebula. Lights glowed from hundreds of windows cut into the surface. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Sam landed on the dark side of the asteroid, in a crater that was hidden from the main structures. He put on his suit and checked his weapons. The suit was called a shadow skin. It was made of millions of tiny cells that could change color and texture to match any background. When activated, Sam became almost invisible. Only a careful eye could spot the slight shimmer where he stood. He left the Nighthawk and began his approach. The asteroid had no atmosphere, so he moved in silence across the rocky surface. His boots had special grips that let him walk on walls and ceilings. He found a maintenance hatch and used a small device to unlock it. The door opened without a sound. Inside, the fortress was a maze of corridors and chambers. The air was warm and smelled of machines and unwashed bodies. Sam moved through ventilation shafts and service tunnels that the Syndicate had forgotten about. He was patient. Speed would come later. From now, he needed to learn the layout and find the ambassador. He passed through areas where slavers gathered to eat and drink. They were loud and confident. Sam listened to their conversations and learned useful information. The ambassador was being kept in a special section reserved for valuable prisoners. Draxus Vorn planned to auction her personally to the highest bidder in 3 days. Buyers were already arriving from across the galaxy. Sam also learned something that made his blood grow cold. The Syndicate had hundreds of captives in the lower levels. Men, women, and children from many worlds. They were treated like animals. Some had been there for years. The slavers joked about which species made the best servants, and which ones were too fragile to survive the training process. Sam had been given a mission to rescue the ambassador. But as he moved through the fortress and saw the suffering around him, he began to form a new plan. He would save Claire Dawson, but he would also burn this place to the ground. He reached the high-security section after 2 hours of careful movement. The corridors here were cleaner and better lit. Guards stood at every intersection. They were the elite warriors of the Syndicate, chosen for their loyalty and skill. Sam counted 12 of them protecting the area where the ambassador was held. He did not attack immediately. Instead, he watched and waited. He learned their patrol patterns. He noted which guards were alert and which ones were bored. He found the blind spots in their coverage and the moments when their attention drifted. One by one, he began to remove them. The first guard was standing alone near a storage room. Sam approached from behind, moving so slowly that even the air did not stir. His hand covered the guard's mouth while a needle slipped into the neck. The drug worked in seconds. The guard went limp, and Sam dragged him into the storage room. He bound the body with thin wire and left it in the darkness. The second guard noticed that the first was missing. He walked toward the storage room to investigate. He never arrived. Sam dropped from the ceiling, wrapped his arms around the guard's throat, and squeezed until consciousness faded. Another body hidden. Another shadow in the night. The other guards began to sense that something was wrong. They called for their missing comrades on their communication devices. No one answered. They gathered together, thinking there was safety in numbers. They were wrong. Sam used their fear against them. He threw a small device that created a sound in an empty corridor. 3 guards went to investigate. While they were gone, Sam took 2 more from the main group. When the 3 returned, they found their friends gone and blood on the floor. Panic spread quickly. The guards shouted into their communicators, calling for reinforcements. But Sam had already disabled the local relay. Their signals went nowhere. They were alone with something they could not see or understand. By the end of the hour, all 12 guards were unconscious or dead. Sam stood outside the ambassador's cell and looked at the lock. It was a complex device with genetic scanners and encrypted codes. He pulled a small cylinder from his belt and attached it to the lock. The device hummed softly as it worked through the security. After 30 seconds, the door clicked open. Ambassador Claire Dawson looked up from her seat. Her eyes went wide when she saw the figure in black standing in her doorway. He was human, but he moved in a way that seemed impossible. He had appeared from nowhere, and the guards who had tormented her for days were simply gone. "Ambassador Dawson," Sam said quietly, "I am here to take you home." Claire stood on shaking legs. "Who are you? Where's the rescue team?" Sam almost smiled. "I am the rescue team. Earth sent me to deliver a message to the Syndicate." "What message?" Sam looked at her with eyes that held no warmth, only purpose. "That humanity is not prey." Sam dragged Draxus Vorn to the main console in the center of the command room. The warlord was bleeding from a dozen wounds, but he was still conscious. His yellow eyes burned with hatred as he watched the human work. "What are you doing?" Draxus demanded. "Sending a message," Sam replied. He connected his datapad to the fortress communication system. His fingers moved across the controls, bypassing security locks and opening broadcast channels. Within minutes, he had access to every Syndicate frequency. He also connected to the wider galactic network, ensuring that his words would spread far beyond this fortress. "You are going to watch," Sam told Draxus. "And when I am finished, everyone in the galaxy will know what happened here." A red light blinked on the console, showing that the broadcast was live. Sam stepped in front of the camera and removed his mask. His face was ordinary. He looked like any human from Earth. Brown hair, brown eyes, a small scar on his chin. There was nothing remarkable about him at all. That was the point. "My name is Sam Keller," he said. His voice was calm and steady. "I am a human from Earth. 6 days ago, the Zethric Syndicate attacked a diplomatic transport and captured Ambassador Claire Dawson. They demanded the coordinates of human colony worlds in exchange for her life. They planned to harvest our people like livestock." He paused and let the words sink in. "Earth did not pay their ransom. We did not send a fleet. We sent me. One human, operating alone with nothing but skill and patience. In less than 6 hours, I infiltrated this fortress, disabled its security systems, freed over 400 prisoners from 12 species, and neutralized the Syndicate's defenses." He turned the camera toward Draxus Vorn. The mighty warlord was bound to his throne with thin wire that cut into his flesh whenever he moved. Blood dripped from his wounds and pooled on the floor beneath him. He looked nothing like the terror of the Outer Rim. He looked like exactly what he was: a defeated predator who had finally met something more dangerous than himself. "This is Draxus Vorn," Sam continued, "leader of the Syndicate. He believed that humans were soft, weak, easy prey. He was wrong." Sam walked closer to the camera. His eyes were cold. "I have a message for every slaver, pirate, and warlord who thinks they can take humans without consequence. If you capture our people, we will come for you. Not with fleets that give you warning. Not with armies that you can prepare to fight. We will send shadows. We will send ghosts. We will send nightmares that slip through your defenses and take you apart from the inside." He held up his blade so the camera could see it. The edge was so thin it was almost invisible. It was stained with the blood of over 100 slavers. My ancestors hunted in darkness for 1,000 years. They developed techniques that your species has never imagined. While you were building empires and conquering worlds, we were learning to become invisible. We were learning to kill without being seen. We were perfecting the art of fear. Sam sheathed his blade and looked directly into the camera. This fortress is finished. Its power systems are rigged to overload in 30 minutes. Anyone still inside will die when the reactor explodes. I suggest you run. He ended the broadcast and turned to Draxus Vorn. The warlord was shaking with rage and fear. You cannot do this, Draxus said. The Galactic Council will condemn Earth for this attack. You will start a war. The Council ignored your crimes for 200 years, Sam replied. They said you operated outside their jurisdiction. Now we operate outside theirs. As for war, the Syndicate has been at war with innocent people since it was founded. Earth is simply fighting back. He leaned closer to the warlord. You will survive this. I am leaving you alive for a reason. I want you to tell everyone what happened here. I want you to describe how one human destroyed your empire. I want you to spend the rest of your miserable life knowing that you were beaten by a species you considered inferior. Sam cut the wires that bound Draxus to the throne. The warlord collapsed to the floor, too weak to stand. The escape pods are in the East Wing, Sam said. You have 28 minutes. I suggest you move quickly. He walked out of the command center without looking back. Behind him, Draxus Vorn crawled toward the door. Leaving a trail of blood on the floor, Sam made his way to the hangar where he had landed his ship. The fortress was in chaos. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Syndicate members ran through corridors, searching for escape routes. None of them tried to stop Sam. They had heard the broadcast. They knew what he was. They wanted nothing to do with him. He reached the Nighthawk and climbed inside. The engines hummed to life, and he guided the small ship out of the hangar. Behind him, the fortress grew smaller against the colorful clouds of the nebula. He was far away when the reactor exploded. The flash lit up the entire region, bright enough to be seen from neighboring systems. The asteroid cracked apart, sending chunks of rock tumbling through space. The Zethric Syndicate's greatest stronghold was reduced to rubble in seconds. Sam watched the destruction on his screens. He felt no joy, no satisfaction. He had done what was necessary. That was all. Ambassador Claire Dawson was waiting at the nearest station when Sam's ship arrived 3 days later. She had contacted Earth and reported everything that happened. The Galactic Council had issued statements of concern and demanded explanations. Earth's response was simple. They had rescued their citizen and freed prisoners from 12 member species. If the Council had a problem with that, they could file a complaint. Claire approached Sam as he stepped off his ship. She looked healthier than she had in the fortress, but there were shadows in her eyes that had not been there before. She had seen things that would stay with her forever. The Council is furious, she said. They say Earth violated a dozen treaties by attacking the Syndicate without authorization. The Syndicate was not covered by any treaties, Sam replied. That was the excuse the Council used to ignore them. Now it protects us. Claire nodded slowly. And Draxus Vorn? Alive, spreading the story. Fear is a weapon that keeps working long after the battle ends. They walked together through the station corridors. People from many species turned to look at them. Word had spread quickly. Everyone knew about the human who had destroyed the Syndicate alone. Some looked at Sam with fear. Others looked at him with something like hope. What happens now? Claire asked. I return to Earth. Another mission will come eventually. There are always people who think they can hurt humans without consequences. Sam paused. But after tonight, there will be fewer of them. Claire stopped and faced him. I never thanked you properly. You risked your life to save me and hundreds of others. That means something. Sam looked at her with those calm, unreadable eyes. I did my duty. You did yours by helping the prisoners escape. We both served our people in different ways. He shook her hand and walked toward his ship. Claire watched him go. She would return to diplomacy, to negotiations and treaties and careful words. But she would never forget what she had witnessed. She would never forget that somewhere in the darkness, humans like Sam Keller were watching over their species. In the years that followed, human ships traveled through former Syndicate territory without fear. Pirates who once hunted humans now fled at the sight of Earth vessels. The word ninja spread through the galaxy, whispered by those who remembered the night a single warrior brought down an empire. And in the darkest corners of space, where criminals and slavers gathered to plan their crimes, a new rule was understood by all. You could steal from the Korath. You could raid the Vellani. You could even attack the council fleets if you were bold enough. But you never, ever touched a human. Because humans did not forgive. Humans did not forget. And when they came for vengeance, they came like shadows in the night. Silent, patient, unstoppable. That was the message Sam Keller delivered to the galaxy. And the galaxy listened. Claire stared at the man in black. Her mind struggled to accept what she was seeing. Earth had sent a single person to rescue her from a fortress filled with thousands of slavers. It seemed like madness. But the guards who had watched her cell were gone, and this stranger stood before her without a scratch on his body. We need to move, Sam said. Reinforcements will arrive when the guards miss their check-in. Wait, Claire said. There are other prisoners here. Hundreds of them. We cannot leave them behind. Sam studied her for a moment. Most diplomats would have begged to escape immediately. They would have thought only of their own safety. But Claire Dawson was thinking of others, even in her darkest hour. Sam respected that. I know about the other prisoners, he said. I have a plan, but I need your help. Tell me what to do. Sam reached into his belt and pulled out a small pistol. It was a simple weapon, easy to use. He handed it to Claire, along with a communication device that fit in her ear. The holding cells are in the lower levels, Sam explained. I am going to disable the power and communication systems for this section of the fortress. When the lights go out, I will guide you through the corridors. We will free the prisoners and arm them with weapons from the fallen guards. Then we move to the hangar bay and steal enough ships to escape. Claire looked at the pistol in her hands. She had never fired a weapon in her life. But she had also never been a slave, and she was not going to start now. I understand, she said. Let us begin. They left the cell together. Sam moved ahead, scouting each corridor before signaling Claire to follow. She tried to walk quietly, but her footsteps sounded like thunder compared to his silence. He seemed to float across the floor, his body blending with the shadows until he was almost invisible. They reached a junction box, hidden in a maintenance alcove. Sam opened the panel and studied the wires inside. His fingers moved quickly, cutting some connections and rerouting others. After a minute of work, the lights in the corridor flickered and died. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in a dim red glow. The communication relay is down, Sam said. This section is isolated. The main fortress will not know something is wrong for at least 20 minutes. They descended to the lower levels. The smell grew worse as they went deeper. It was the smell of too many bodies in too small a space. Claire felt her stomach turn, but she kept moving. The holding area was a massive chamber filled with rows of cages. Inside the cages, Claire saw beings from many worlds. Some had fur, others had scales, and a few had bodies made of crystal or light. They all had the same look in their eyes, despair. They had given up. Hope long ago. Sam moved to the control panel and began working on the locks. One by one, the cage doors swung open. The prisoners did not move at first. They had been tricked before. Freedom was just another form of torture when it was taken away. Claire stepped forward. She spoke slowly and clearly so that the translation devices could convert her words. "My name is Claire Dawson. I am a human from Earth. This man has come to rescue us. We are leaving this place tonight. Anyone who can walk, follow me. Anyone who can fight, take a weapon from the guards we pass. We are not slaves anymore." A tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms was the first to stand. "The guards will kill us," he said. "They've done it before. They let prisoners escape and then hunt them for sport." "Not tonight," Sam said. He stepped out of the shadows, and the prisoners saw him for the first time. "Tonight I am the hunter." Something in his voice made the prisoners believe him. They began to rise from their cages. The ones who could walk helped the ones who could not. Claire organized them into groups, counting heads and assessing injuries. There were over 400 captives in total. Many were weak, but anger gave them strength. Sam led them through the lower corridors. They passed the bodies of guards he had dealt with earlier. The prisoners stripped the bodies of weapons and armor. Soon, they had a small army. It was untrained and frightened, but it was better than nothing. They were halfway to the hangar when the alarms finally sounded. The Syndicate had discovered the escape. Lights flashed red throughout the fortress, and a harsh voice announced that all guards should report to the lower levels. "Keep moving," Sam told Claire. "I will slow them down." He disappeared into the shadows before she could respond. Claire took a deep breath and kept the group moving forward. She had to trust that Sam knew what he was doing. The first squad of Syndicate guards arrived from a side corridor. There were 10 of them, all armed with energy rifles. They saw the mass of escaped prisoners and raised their weapons. They never fired a shot. Sam dropped from above like a falling shadow. His blade flashed in the dim light, faster than the eye could follow. 2 guards fell before the others realized what was happening. Sam moved through them like water through rocks. He was everywhere and nowhere at once. The guards tried to shoot him, but he was already behind them. He was already cutting. He was already gone. In seconds, all 10 guards were on the floor. Some were dead. Others were unconscious. Sam stood among them without a single wound. He was not even breathing hard. "Move," he said calmly. "More will come." The prisoners stared at him with a mix of fear and awe. They had never seen anything like this. The beings of the galaxy fought with numbers and firepower. This human fought like a demon from old legends. He was death-wearing flesh. Claire got them moving again. The hangar was close now. She could hear the hum of ship engines through the walls. They just needed to hold on a little longer. Another squad appeared. Then another. Sam handled them the same way, striking from angles they could not defend against and vanishing before they could respond. He left messages carved into the walls with his blade. "Humanity remembers." The words spread fear through the Syndicate faster than any weapon could. They reached the hangar bay. It was enormous, filled with ships of various sizes. Some were small fighters. Others were transport vessels that could hold 50 people. Best of all, the hangar was nearly empty of guards. Most had been sent to hunt for the intruder in the lower levels. "Get everyone on the transports," Sam ordered. "I will seal the doors behind you and open the main hangar gate." Claire nodded and began directing the prisoners to the ships. The blue-skinned alien with 4 arms took charge of the largest transport. Others helped the wounded aboard. Within minutes, the ships were loaded and ready. Sam worked at the hangar control panel. He sealed the doors leading into the fortress, trapping any guards outside. Then he opened the massive gate that led to space. Stars appeared in the darkness beyond. "Go," Sam said. "Fly to the nearest station and contact the Galactic Council. Tell them what happened here." Claire hesitated. "What about you?" I am not finished. Draxus Vorn is still alive. The Syndicate will rebuild unless I cut off the head. You cannot fight them all alone. Sam looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something like warmth in his eyes. I am not alone, Ambassador. I carry the spirit of every human who ever refused to surrender. That is enough. The transports lifted off and flew through the hangar gate. Claire watched the fortress grow smaller through the window. Somewhere inside that rock, a single man was about to face an army. And somehow, she knew the army should be afraid. Draxus Vorn slammed his fist against the console. The screens in front of him showed chaos. His prisoners were escaping. His guards were dying. And no one could tell him what was happening. Report, he growled at the officer beside him. How many attackers? The officer, a thin Zethric with nervous eyes, checked his datapad. We are not certain, Warlord. The security systems are failing throughout the lower sections. Communication is down in multiple areas. But the guards who have reported speak of only one attacker. One? Draxus laughed, but there was no humor in it. One attacker has killed 30 of my warriors and freed 400 prisoners? That is what the survivors claim. They say he moves through shadows. They say he appears and disappears like a ghost. Some are calling him a demon. Draxus stood from his throne. He was massive, even for a Zethric. His body was covered in battle scars from 100 campaigns. He had built the Syndicate from nothing and ruled it for 50 years. He did not believe in ghosts or demons. He believed in power. Send the hunting squads, he ordered. Full combat gear. Thermal scanners. Motion detectors. I want this intruder found and brought to me alive. I will make an example of him. The hunting squads assembled quickly. Each squad had 20 warriors armed with the best weapons the Syndicate could provide. Their armor could stop most energy weapons. Their helmets had displays that showed heat signatures and movement in real time. They were confident as they entered the lower levels. Whatever had killed their comrades would not surprise them. They were wrong. Sam watched the first squad from a ventilation shaft above. He had studied their equipment and knew its weaknesses. The thermal scanners could detect body heat, but his suit had a cooling system that masked his signature. The motion detectors were sensitive, but they created blind spots near walls and ceilings where Sam lived. The warriors were looking for an enemy who fought like they did. They would never find him. He waited until the squad entered a narrow corridor. Then he dropped a small disc from the shaft. It landed on the floor and released a cloud of thick smoke. The warriors shouted and fired blindly into the fog. They hit nothing but walls. Sam moved through the smoke like it was not there. His helmet had filters that let him breathe and sensors that let him see. He struck from behind, from the sides, from above. Each blow was precise. Each target fell. When the smoke cleared, the squad was scattered across the floor. Half were dead. The others were unconscious. Sam took their communication devices and listened to the chatter. The other squads were reporting similar attacks. One claimed they had cornered the intruder, only to find nothing but shadows. Another said their entire team had been taken down in seconds by something they never saw. Fear was spreading faster than any disease. He moved through the fortress like a plague. Each squad he encountered was destroyed. Each time, he left survivors to tell the story. He wanted them afraid. Fear would weaken their discipline and scatter their forces. It would make his final task easier. The slavers began to break. Some refused to leave their posts. Others tried to flee to the hangar bay, only to find the doors sealed. A few barricaded themselves in rooms and waited with weapons ready, jumping at every sound. The mighty Zethric Syndicate, terror of the Outer Rim, was falling apart because of one man. Draxus Vorn listened to the reports with growing rage. His warriors were being hunted like animals. The intruder was not just killing them. He was playing with them. He was sending a message. "Seal the command center," Draxus ordered. "All remaining elite guards report to my location. We make our stand here." His advisors looked at him with surprise. "Warlord, should we not send more forces to stop him? He has beaten everything we sent. More forces will only give him more targets." Draxus drew his weapon, a massive blade that had ended countless lives. "If he wants me, he will have to come here, and I will be ready." The command center was in the heart of the fortress. It was built like a bunker, with thick walls and heavy blast doors. 50 of the best Syndicate warriors took positions around the room. They covered every entrance and every angle. Nothing could approach without being seen. But Sam did not approach through the entrances. He had spent hours studying the fortress layout. He knew there was an old maintenance tunnel that ran beneath the command center. It had been sealed years ago, but seals meant nothing to someone with the right tools. He cut through the floor panel and emerged in a storage room connected to the main chamber. The first guard died, without knowing he was under attack. Sam's blade opened his throat before he could make a sound. The second guard turned at the soft thump of the body hitting the floor. He saw nothing but shadows. Then the shadows reached out and pulled him into darkness. Sam worked his way around the room, using furniture and equipment as cover. He planted explosive charges in strategic locations. When they detonated, they would create chaos and confusion. Perfect conditions for a final strike. He triggered the charges. The explosions were small but loud. Smoke and debris filled the air. The guards shouted and fired at anything that moved. In the confusion, Sam was everywhere. He cut through warriors like a blade through paper. He dodged energy bolts that passed close enough to feel their heat. He moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. Draxus Vorn watched his elite guard fall one by one. He could not see the attacker clearly. Just glimpses. A shadow here. A flash of steel there. It was like fighting smoke. "Show yourself," Draxus roared. "Face me like a warrior." The last guard fell with a dart in his neck. Sam stepped out of the shadows and stood before the warlord. He was smaller than Draxus by a wide margin. His suit was torn in places, and there was blood on his blade. But his eyes were calm, like pools of still water. "I am not a warrior," Sam said quietly. "I am something older. Something your kind has forgotten." Draxus charged with a roar that shook the walls. His blade swung in a mighty arc that could have cut a human in half. But Sam was not there. He had moved before the swing began, reading the warlord's body and predicting the attack. He struck Draxus in the side with a quick cut that drew blood. The warlord spun and attacked again. Sam dodged again. He was not trying to kill Draxus quickly. He was taking him apart piece by piece. A cut here. A stab there. Nothing fatal, but each wound weakened the mighty warrior. "Stand still and fight," Draxus bellowed. "That is your way of fighting," Sam replied. "Strength against strength. Force against force." He landed another cut across the warlord's arm. "My ancestors learned a different way. Patience, precision, exploiting weakness instead of challenging strength." Draxus swung wildly, his movements growing slower as blood loss took its toll. Sam danced around him like a leaf in the wind. The warlord who had conquered worlds and enslaved millions was being defeated by a human half his size. Finally, Draxus fell to his knees. His blade clattered from his grip. Sam stood before him with his weapon raised for a killing blow. "Wait," Draxus gasped. "Who are you? What are you?" Sam looked down at him without pity. "I am a ninja. My people perfected the art of death while your ancestors were still swimming in swamps. You made a mistake when you took our diplomat. Now your syndicate will learn why humans fear the dark." He paused. Because the dark is where we learn to hunt. He did not kill Draxus immediately. He had one more task to complete first. And he needed the warlord alive for it.